G'day, I'm Paul. So the last time Renault had an electric car in Australia, the Zoe, didn't really go that well. This time around though, they're hoping that it is going to get much better with this. It is called the Megane E-Tech. So it is an electric version of the Megane. Gotta say, it looks very handsome and fetching here. This competes with things like Tesla Model Y, the new Kia EV5 that's just around the corner, Hyundai Kona electric. It's that sort of small SUV sized electric vehicle. It's priced at just under $65,000. Now, if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes that are on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time I spill some coffee on my shirt. Okay, let's talk about exterior design. So optional colors are either $400 for the optional color or $800 if you get it with the two-tone roof, which is what this vehicle has. Now have a look at this. This actually looks really impressive. So they've just gone to a lot of effort here to make this really stand out on the road. And if you have a think about stuff like Tesla Model Y, it is such a pedestrian and boring looking car. At least this looks interesting if you're going to drive an electric vehicle and you want something different. At least make it look good. Down the front here, big Renault logo there. You've got LED daytime running lights and then full LED headlights as well. Look how slim that is as well. That looks really nice and cool. Chrome strip along the front there, and then all your battery cooling elements down the bottom as well. Have a look at these wheels. So 20-inch alloy wheels. That is very daring on a vehicle like this, so I'll be interested to see how it rides, because 20 inches on what appears to be a fairly low profile tyre there. It is an eco-efficient sort of tyre, but let's see what that feels like once we hit the road and take it around the ride and handling track. Bit of wheel arch cladding there as well. You've got that two-tone roof I was talking about. You've got an indicator built into the wing mirror there, privacy glass, and that chrome strip runs along the side there. Then have a look at this. You've sort of got this SUV coupe sort of like design. It's really quite fascinating because as you get towards the rear here, there's no door handles there, so it kind of looks like it is a coupe there, integrated here into the top of the door frame. And then as you come around to the back, you can see what I mean there with that small window. So it's not really sort of typical SUV proportions. A big spoiler that hangs over the top there with a shark fin aerial, LED tail lights with a strip that runs all the way along the back there, a Renault logo there, Megane, and then look at that, the E is gold color there to signify that this is the E-Tech electric version. So let me know what you reckon about the design in the comments section below. Are you more a sort of pedestrian, boring EV type person, or do you want something that looks just a little bit interesting and catches your eye out on the road? Let me know in the comments section below. So we are inside the Megane E-Tech. Let's start off with the key. So you've got unlock, lock, you've got a display button, boot, and then a Renault logo on the back. It's a proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket and then you grab the door handle. In terms of the interior here, I quite like the way they've designed this. So they've gone down the path of these materials up on the dashboard. You've got this brushed aluminium here, also on the dashboard. It really is quite a nice premium looking design, and I think that reflective of the price, this is a big step up in price in terms of the rest of the Renault range. So it actually does feel nice and premium and a good place to be seated. Even down to the seats. Look at this. They're not leather, but this cloth does look quite nice and premium. So the big difference you'll see here between the Megane E-Tech that we get here and the one that you get in Europe is the screen here. Europe is available with a much bigger display here in the center, whereas this is a smaller 9-inch display. So run through that in just a second. And there is a fair bit of piano black around here, especially here on the steering wheel, which will get sort of pretty dirty and sort of scratchy as time goes on. So something worth keeping in mind. Now, in terms of your touch points, so nice and soft there and soft on the door as well. How soft are they? We've got our durometer. We've tested all the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Now, build quality, what's that like? Pretty wonky there. Door sound. Now let's talk infotainment and safety. So I mentioned before, you get a smaller screen here for Australia, so 9-inch display, 12.3-inch display here ahead of the driver. Run you through this first. So pretty sort of compact screen, but it's big enough for what it is, and really high quality and very sharp as well, which I really like. I do like when they go to the effort of just making sure that the actual user experience is pretty good. And while you don't have inbuilt satellite navigation, you do have smartphone mirroring in the form of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I'll show you what they look like. So Apple CarPlay, almost full screen integration there. Nice and quick, no dramas there at all. And then this is what Android Auto looks like. So there it is there, similar setup to CarPlay in terms of the screen size, and usability looks pretty good there as well. In terms of other functions, you can actually go through the sort of vehicle menu here to configure things like your electric settings, and then you've got the rest of the car's settings in here as well, which is good to see. On the radio front, you have AM, FM, DAB radio, and that's all plumbed through a 6-speaker sound system. There it is. 6-speaker sound system as well. Pretty decent sound system too, which is good news. Now, ahead of the driver, 12.3-inch display. This is also really nice and sharp display there as well. And depending on the drive mode that you're in, that all sort of changes as you move through the drive modes, and gives you a different sort of display there in terms of how it all looks. So infotainment front, it all looks pretty decent. You have voice recognition there as well, just in case you want to talk to the car instead of taking your eyes off the road. On the safety front, you have autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. You've got an auto-dimming rear vision mirror, but also a digital rear view mirror as well. And that is handy for cars like this that have really narrow viewports out the back. So see what that's like when we do go for a bit of a drive. You have a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant. You have radar cruise control, blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror, rear cross traffic alert. I'll show you what the reverse view camera looks like. I'm going to start the car for that. Pop that into reverse. Wow, that is terrible. I mean, it is a tiny little screen and the quality is really not very good at all. So yeah, in this day and age, on a brand new car, especially an electric car that's meant to be like your show of tech, I just think you've got to do better than that. That is really not very good at all. That's what the horn sounds like. So moving on to practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. So you've got 2 USB-C ports nestled into there. You've got a 12-volt outlet down the bottom there, wireless phone charging pad up the top here. In terms of storage for your stuff, so coffee cup. You've got our little tiny coffee cup. It's nicely in there without too many dramas. Bottle, you can actually adjust the bottle storage up the front here as well, depending on the size of bottle that you're working with. Let's see if our big bottle fits inside the door. Nice, fits in there. And it's cool to see the door pockets are sort of padded as well, which is nice. In terms of storage, it's fantastic. You've got stacks of room down the front there and here. Your center console's not enormous, but you do have some storage space there. And finally, you have a reasonably sized glove box as well. Now, on the comfort front, you have dual zone automatic climate control. You have heated seats, a heated steering wheel. Bizarrely, the seats are manually adjustable, which is quite odd for what, almost a $70,000 car on the road. But the seats are quite comfortable to sit in, which is very nice. Steering is both tilt and reach adjusted. And then in terms of our reach test, all of this stuff is easy to reach while you're driving. Okay, second row of the Megane E-Tech. It is pretty tight back here, so not really much knee room. Toe room's not very good, and headroom isn't very good either. So I think if you are wanting to transport adults in the back here, you've got to compromise a little bit there on space. In terms of connectivity, you've got 2 USB-C ports, you have air vents, map pockets in the back of the seats, ISOFIX points on the 2 outboard seats with top tether points as well. Outside of that, sort of nothing sort of too crazy to point out here. Similar seat design as well, so you've got the cloth and then that sort of leatherette in the centre. Now, our windows, do they go all the way down? No, not quite. Now let's talk cargo space. So while it may look like a powered tailgate, it's not. You've got a little button there to unleash it. Now, in terms of cargo space, 440 litres is what you have on offer. It's quite a high sort of boot lip here, but once you're in, you've got sort of a lot of depth in it. Not a lot of length, but a lot of depth. And then beneath the cargo floor, you have storage as well for the charging cable, which is good to see. Outside of that, it's pretty sort of straightforward. You've got a little light on the side there, but that's about it. Show you what it looks like with our bags in there. So there's the laptop bag, and our suitcase doesn't fit that way. It's going to go sideways. Yeah, it's a pretty tight little space, so not a huge amount of storage there. Pull that out. If you do want to expand the storage though, you can drop the second row. Once you do drop that second row, it expands the space to a little over 1,300 litres. That you can see there, you've got a big step up, so it's not really a flat floor, not the most sort of practical cargo space. So let's talk charging. You have a 60 kilowatt hour usable battery. It's an NMC battery, which means lithium ion. It means that you only really should be charging it up to 80 or 90% regularly. It's not like an LFP battery, which you typically charge to 100% constantly. On the charging front, you have both AC and DC charging. AC comes in the form of single phase 7.4 kilowatts, and then DC charging comes in the form of up to 129 kilowatts peak, and then average of about 90 kilowatts in terms of its charge rate. Driving range, just over 450 Ks on the WLTP cycle. So you can see what they've tried to do there is smaller battery, which gives you a little bit more range, and then you work on the efficiency there as well. So we'll see how it goes when we go for a drive, but they're the highlight specs for the battery system. Okay, we've just hit the road in the Megane E-Tech. So this is a single motor setup, so they don't offer it in all-wheel drive. It is front-wheel drive only, and that motor produces 160 kilowatts of power and 300 newton meters of torque. So it's a decent slab, especially for a front-wheel drive vehicle. Typically they try and taper off the amount of torque that's available for front-wheel drive electric cars, but that is a pretty sort of hardy amount. And it means that when you get on the throttle, it sort of gives you a nice healthy stab in the back there. It's a really sort of engaging feeling behind the wheel. So in terms of weight, curb weight of under 1,700 kilos, which is really impressive for an electric vehicle. It is, a big number for a hatchback, but in the electric vehicle space, they're typically much heavier. So you're talking about closer to 2,000 kilos for something like a Model Y. So this is definitely in a much better space. The only disadvantage to that is that you do get a little bit of torque steer in some of these vehicles. So you can see there, the vehicle was going around the corner without me even holding the wheel, and that is due to torque steer. Not the end of the world, but just something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about economy. So Renault claims a figure of around 15 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks, which is a pretty decent figure, and in theory it should actually be a little bit less. If you have a look at Tesla Model 3 entry level, for example, that is sort of right down there. We are averaging currently 18.6 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks, so we are higher than that claimed figure. And look, to be honest, it really should be better than that. You are sitting on 20-inch alloy wheels, which doesn't help, but I would have liked to see perhaps something a little bit better there. You will see a better figure in and around town. We have been doing some highway driving to get here, but regardless, I want to see that figure coming down a little bit with more sedate driving around town. Now let's talk about ride. I mentioned before, 20-inch alloy wheels, pretty risky setup here, and it is pretty firm. So when we hit bumps and stuff like that, you do feel everything coming through the cabin. It isn't terrible, so it's not quite as sort of firm or rough as something like a Tesla Model Y, but it is still on the firmer side of comfortable. So I think they are billing this as a sporty vehicle, and when we go for a bit of a faster drive later on, we'll see if it is sporty in nature, because if it is, you can kind of get away with that sort of ride firmness, but I think that it is something you will notice if you are doing commute over speed humps, cobblestones and all that kind of thing. Now, how does all that feel on our sine waves? We're going to increase the speed here to 130 Ks an hour, which is maximum speed limit in Australia, and also the speed we test all of the vehicles on the sine wave here. It's just a really good measure of what the vehicle is like in terms of body control. So here we go, there's 130. Yeah, that's really good. Nice and settled. So you do find typically with vehicles that are sportier, they perform better on our sine wave test, and you can see that here. And it just means that if you are driving out on the country, it is going to feel nice and controlled when you hit bumps, especially hitting bumps mid-corner as well. It's just going to feel a whole lot more settled. Now, bumpy road time, we do this at 90 Ks an hour. It's a shocker of a road. gives us an idea of what this ride is like over a corrugated road. Yeah, look, it is firm. I think we've already deduced that, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable. They've actually done a good job here of making it firm, but not outrageous. Here's our condensed sine wave. Even this is really well controlled and managed. So yeah, I think overall they've done a really good job with giving this a sporty package without it being completely uncomfortable. Now you've got 3 regen modes to pick from, so you can go all the way from no regen at all, so you just roll out of the throttle and there's only very light regen, all the way through to the top regen setting. Only issue is there is no single pedal driving mode, so you can see here as the car slows down, it just rolls out of regen and it doesn't sort of bring the car to a stop. It'd be nice if they did add that feature because I think it would be a helpful addition. The other thing that I noticed as well is that when I come out of the throttle for regen, it actually pushes the brake. And I'm not a huge fan of that because if you are going for the brake at the same time as rolling out of the throttle, you can actually feel it moving under your foot. So it just gives it a bit of a weird vibe, but something worth keeping in mind. Okay, let's go for a sportier drive. I'm going to go through the drive modes here to sport. I'll stack them there. We'll see what this feels like. All right. It's actually pretty decent. It's sitting nice and flat through the corners there, and it's got a fair bit of pep as you step on it. It's actually doing a really good job there of picking up pace. Wow, it is absolutely hammering for a front-wheel drive electric car. It's actually doing a really good job. Brake pedal feels good as well. Steering feels great too. Okay, so I can now see why they've gone with that bigger wheel because it's giving us drive here around our ride and handling track. Wow, I was not expecting this. Front wheel drive electric car, I thought this is just going to be a city thing. This is hoofing along really nicely. See what it's like on the back straight. That is picking up speed great. Wow. That is absolutely hauling. There's our speed limiter there. Wow, I was not expecting that. That has absolutely hoofed along there remarkably well. I did notice as we were sort of coming around some of those corners, I had the stability control light flashing there a little bit, but it was actually sort of hooking along nicely. What we might do on our next lap, I might actually switch that off just to see if it improves the way it pulls through those corners, but I was not expecting that, and I guess this kind of explains why the car is set up the way that it is. It is really tuned for sportiness, and they've kind of created like a Megane RS electric hot hatch type thing here, which is pretty cool. Okay, so as promised, let's see what this is like if we switch traction control off there. Just give it one more pump through a couple of these corners and see if it improves the way that it feels. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's much more lively. Oh, wow. There you go. Okay. Now we're talking. So this is really, really impressive. I was genuinely not expecting this. They have just created a super lively car here that is just delivering a heap of smiles. And, you know, for what it is, a front-wheel drive electric car, it has got a stack of feel to it. So, there you go. Good job, Renault. You've surprised me today. Now, in terms of road noise, it is a little bit noisy on the road. 20-inch wheels, it's going to do that, but sort of not the end of the world. You really just notice it on coarse chip roads. Now on the towing front, 900 kilogram brake towing capacity, so you're probably not going to be towing anything with this anyway, and a really tight turning circle of under 11 metres. Now let's talk visibility. So I can see clearly down the front. The wing mirrors are nice and big with a blind spot monitor built into them, but visibility out the back is really poor. It's a tiny little window there, but they've included this, which completely fixes that problem. So it is good to have that digital rear view mirror in place of, you know, the vision that you get out the back window. Kind of gives you the style but functionality at the same time. Okay, time to do some performance testing. Before I do that, I want to tell you about Help Me CarExpert. So we are a big company. We have a stack of dealers signed up to our platform, and they are there to give you the best deal possible on a car that is in stock like one of these. So just go to Google, type in "help me CarExpert," and it will take you to the CarExpert site and explain to you how it all works. You'll be able to see our team and all that sort of stuff. You can also talk to our concierge to get free advice too. Now, performance testing time. So Renault claims a 0 to 100 time of around 7 seconds. I'll slide this over to sport mode. We're going to go all the way through to 120 and we'll see how it goes. I'll turn traction control off as well. So here we go. Gentle off the line. Okay, so they taper off that power delivery until you're moving. And there's 120. I'll come to a stop and have a little look at how that went. Love that you've got little G meters there as well, which is pretty cool. Okay, so 0 to 100 took 7.25 seconds, and then our 80 to 120 time was 4.3 seconds. So all pretty commendable acceleration figures. Nothing too crazy, but kind of where you'd expect a front-wheel drive electric vehicle to be. Okay, and now we'll do an emergency stop from 100, just to see what the brake and tyre package is like. Okay, here we go. So 100 to 0, 2.83 seconds, 38.39 metres. That's pretty impressive stuff. If you do want to see how the Megane E-Tech compares to other cars that we've tested before in terms of those performance figures, have a look at the link in the description below. Okay, now, how quickly does it go in reverse? Here we go. Okay, 31 kilometres an hour. So Renault Megane E-Tech, what do we reckon? Look, I was genuinely surprised with the handling. It is an absolute pocket rocket. So where it sort of lacks in terms of space, so second row, and it really is quite cramped, the boot is quite small as well. It doesn't have that enormous footprint, but it makes up for that when it comes to having a fun and sporty drive. And I think this is where they're really trying to build this thing. It is a sporty electric vehicle, and out of all the two-wheel drive electric vehicles in this price bracket, this is well and truly the sportiest. So whether it's front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, so I think they've done a great job with that. The tech-wise, look, I wasn't a huge fan of that reverse camera. It is just such low quality. I don't know how they've managed to find a camera that is so low quality. But if you do put all of these things together, it is a very stylish looking vehicle that doesn't look like a science project. It is sort of in that price bracket of where electric vehicles this size are, and then you get a decent amount of range for the size of battery and the weight of the vehicle too. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Have you bought one of these? Are you interested in one of these? What are you looking at instead? I'm keen for your feedback. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.